Let's get a word from Richard Tice, MP, Deputy Leader of Reform UK. Afternoon to you, Richard.
Good afternoon, Ian. What an extraordinary day.
Indeed, and there you were on those benches watching this unveil. I mean, just give us, it's not exactly the National Theatre, it's not even the O2, although she's been to both recently, we should add. But nonetheless, in terms of a spectacle, a financial statement, how did it fare?
Well, what it was, Ian, was a theatre of make-believe. You've got a Chancellor that is not an economist. I don't think she knows much about numbers. She's totally reliant on the Office for Budget Responsibility and their delusional forecast. Nothing short of delusional. On the one hand, they've halved their growth forecast for 2025 from what they forecast just a few months ago, saying that the world has changed and it's all much more difficult geopolitically. And yet, magically, as though maybe they've been eating magic mushrooms, they've suddenly increased their growth forecasts every year thereafter by almost 0.5% a year. The two don't add up. You can't say things are much worse, but then make all the numbers into the future much better. So I'm afraid these forecasts are completely delusional. We're already in a recession. Everybody knows it. The economy shrank in January. I think the private sector economy is already shrinking. People are laying off workers. They're not hiring people, putting people on shorter hours. Risk doesn't pay. For too many people now, work doesn't pay. And although the government talks about cutting spending, we know that's not happening because already, just in a few short months, they're borrowing 20 billion more than they forecast just last October. Literally in 4 months, they've had to borrow another 20 billion. And it has to be said that the finance markets in the city, they don't like it. The cost of government borrowing immediately shot up to levels that, frankly, we haven't seen for some 15 years. The finance markets are on tenterhooks. And this was a theatre of make-believe, this spring statement.
Yeah, one of the issues, Richard, that we've been kind of exploring here this afternoon is perhaps the more fundamental question of we keep seeing this, don't we? We have a Labour Chancellor, we have a Tory Chancellor, and they're tinkering around with this same system. There's no big, bold statements. There's no fundamental philosophical change of how we do business. No bold statements. No moments that people are going to look at and go, wow, now that really is a change in direction. There's none of that. They're working from the same foundations as the last lot and the last lot. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul. There's a couple of announcements. There's a bit of gloss. There's a funny line in the statement somewhere to make us chuckle. Oh, I didn't actually spot one this time around. It's just same old, same old. We need fundamental root and branch change.
Well, that's why people say that essentially Labour and the Tories are uniparty. They're just the same, tinkering around the edges of zero growth or recession. We're already in recession per person thanks to the lunacy of mass uncontrolled immigration. I'll give you a bold change. Let's go back to what we know works before the madness of net stupid zero. Let's scrap net stupid zero, save tens of billions of pounds a year. Let's stop paying voluntary interest from the Bank of England to the rich city institutions on all the printed quantitative easing money. Again, saving tens of billions of pounds a year. Let's cut the vast amount of wasteful spending, including daft projects like 100 million on a ludicrous bat shed that doesn't help bats, for heaven's sake. This is all the madness that we're living in, and it's sadly, it's the least well off, it's the lowest paid in our country that are suffering the most as our energy bills go up. They're some 18% higher, hundreds of pounds higher than when the election took place, despite Ed Miliband, the energy secretary, promising the bills were going to come down. They're not. They're forecast to go up and up and up, and people are going to get poorer and poorer. That's the radical change we need, and it's only Reform UK that will deliver that. That, Ian, is why we're leading in many polls or first equal.
Yeah, and I've been making the point consistently, Richard, throughout the course of this show. Whether people like Donald Trump or not, just park that to one side. The kind of leadership or the kind of thinking that doesn't believe that things are impossible, that is not afraid to stand up and say, no, this nonsense has gone on too long. We have to change the way we do things. We need a robust approach to how this country works, not this same old that we appear to be getting. And until we get that, perhaps Reform UK are indeed the answer. But until we get that, we're going to be back here every year having the same conversation.
I'm afraid we're going to be back here every 6 months with the Chancellor, who is not an economist, who frankly doesn't know how to run a business, is clueless to the realities of the private sector, relying totally on the Office for Budget Responsibility. I remind everybody, it wasn't the OBR that was elected to run the country. They are faceless bureaucrats. Sure, they can advise, but ultimately decisions should be taken by the elected ministers. And this Chancellor is just parroting what the OBR says, and when their numbers turn out to be absolute twaddle, make-believe, then we're in serious trouble.
Yeah, spot on. Richard, as ever, thank you. Richard Tice, MP, and of course, Deputy Leader of Reform UK, live on College Green.